All right, share screen. Let's get this party started. All right. View, slideshow. All right. So, presentation today is the secret to success. And I didn't let anybody know because I was trying to market it and get everybody to be excited and wondering what it is. But in my life experience, it has always been grit. Grit is the secret to success. I will get into it a little bit more as we go into the presentation, but a lot of people think it's talent or natural genetics or a lot of different things. But in life, and in fitness, a lot of times it just comes simply down to grit. So, this is one of the quotes that really hits me. I have a lot of quotes today, but I wanted to start the presentation off with this quote. Oh, Alana's here. Um, Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become a habit. Watch your habits, they become a character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. So when a lot of times when people are trying to, I'm just using fitness as an example because we're all in the fitness space. When somebody's trying to change their life for the better by starting to work out or trying to eat healthier, they're all focused on actions, right? What do I need to do to become healthier? I need to sleep more. I need to go to the gym 3 times a week. I need to eat healthier food. But oftentimes, when you're only worried about what actions you need to take, you lose track of what it comes before it, and that's your thoughts. So, this whole presentation is aimed at trying to make sure that you have your thoughts in order so that your actions can then be in order. Because if you try to take care of your actions or of a habit or of your character or of any of these things before you take care of your thoughts, it's going to be very, very difficult. And most people are going to be unsuccessful. So, getting into the presentation, there is a book by Angela Duckworth named Grit. It's one of my favorite books. Um, it is a quote from that book. It says, "When I get knocked down, I'll get back up. I may not be the smartest person in the room, but I'll strive to be the grittiest." Um, Getting into the presentation here, what is grit? Now, grit is not academic scores, it is not leadership, it is not fitness, it is not talent, and it is not ability. Oftentimes, though, people that are gritty have great academic scores. They have great leadership. They have great fitness. They have great talent and they have great ability. But it's not because of their natural abilities, it's because they have the grit it takes to be great with all of these things. I want to kind of let you know if you have any questions or if you want to pause me at any time, please feel free just to jump in and ask. Okay. I forgot to tell you guys that at the beginning. So there's another little acronym over here for grit that I love. Give it your all for G, redo if necessary, ignore giving up, and take the time to do it right. I know a lot of people that take action but they don't take the time to make sure that they're doing it right. Some people, for example, when I tell you guys to do the bicycle crunches, and people are doing bicycle crunches, but they're wiggling around with their arms and looking all crazy. Um, yeah, you're doing the thing that I asked, but you're not taking the time to do it right. So unless you're taking the time to do an exercise with proper form or to take the time to make sure that your diet is in order, you may be doing an action, but you're doing it not in the proper way or the way that's going to get you the best results. So I love this little acronym. If you guys want to save it, gave it your all, redo if necessary, ignore giving up, and take time to do it right. Another uh, kind of imagery that I use for take time to do it right. Um, in a rocking chair or in a chair like this, you can be doing something, you could be moving, there could be a lot of action, but you're not going anywhere, right? Unless you're taking the time to do things right, you could be doing something, but it's not getting you anywhere. And oftentimes in fitness, people say, I've been going to the gym, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, but I'm not getting anywhere. Well, you got to make sure that you're taking the time to do it right. So, what is grit? It's someone who never gives up, someone who is overly determined, that does not give excuses, someone that has purpose and has hope. Um, unless you have a vision of what you want in the future, unless you have that hope that you cling to, it is very, very hard to be successful or gritty. So oftentimes the first thing that I ask somebody who's brand new that comes into like a nutrition appointment with me is why do you want to be and why do you want to be successful in fitness? Why did you decide that you wanted to change your life in this way? And oftentimes they say, "Oh, you know what? I just feel like I need to lose 10 pounds." Um, oftentimes people do lose that 10 pounds and they lose their purpose and they revert back to the old ways and they gain the 10 pounds back. So, with a show of hands, do you guys think that that's a strong purpose, losing weight? Probably not, right? Now, there are people that unfortunately sometimes they come in and the doctor says, "Hey, if you don't change things, you're pre-diabetic, we're gonna have to put you on medication." That person has much more purpose and drive than somebody who just wants to lose 10 pounds for aesthetic reasons. So, oftentimes people that have for lack of a better word, vanity is their purpose, they often are not very successful because it doesn't give them a lot of grit. Now, if you're a grandparent and you're playing with your grandbabies, or if you're a mom and you're playing with your kids, and you run out of breath after 5 minutes, fitness may be part of your purpose so that you can run around with the kids. And now fitness has a much deeper purpose rather than just trying to lose a couple of pounds. Um, I always feel like health reasons for joining fitness are much more purposeful than aesthetic reasons for joining fitness. So take that into consideration, maybe something to ponder on of why you came into the fitness space. And maybe you need to rethink your purpose so that you can have a little bit more of a drive in reaching your goals. Go ahead and go to the next one. So, just I have a couple of stories that I want to tell, and this one is Burn the Ships. And I cannot remember exactly who the commander was, but it was a Spaniard commander, and he told all of his people that they were traveling to conquer a land. So they go and they land where they need to go, and the commander rallies everybody up and gives a great motivational speech. And at the end of the speech, after he's rallying his men for battle, he says, "We're going to burn the ships." And they all look at him like he's crazy. Why would we burn the ships? What if we need to escape? What if we're getting beat and we need to get out of here and we're not able to conquer the land? And he says, "We're going to burn the ships." What he did then was he gave them no excuse to get out. They had to fight with all of their grit, all of their intensity, all of their emotion so that they can actually win. Because if there was no escape. It was either you win this battle or you're going to perish here on the island. Um, oftentimes, I think we give ourselves too many ways to go back to the ship, and a lot of things that we do. Oh, if I just skip the gym today, I'll go tomorrow. Well, that most of the time people use that as an excuse and often they'll try to go back to the ship. But if you don't give yourself that ship, if you burn the ship, if you burn the excuses, if you burn all the self-talk that prevents you from going forward into whatever you're trying to do, you are going to have the grit and the mindset and the intensity to move forward that a lot of people aren't going to have. So I love this analogy. I love this story about sometimes I'm thinking about, for me personally, it's the middle of the day, it's my lunch break, and I think about I'm training for this powerlifting competition and I see 400 pounds on the bar. I don't want to do it. I come up with an excuse. I haven't eaten enough. I'm really tired today. I didn't have enough coffee. I have this other project I need to finish at work. I have so many different excuses. And then I think about this and I burn all those ships. I go to do my workout and it's over with. And I'm glad I did it in the end. So that's me personally. And I know a lot of you kind of do the same things. There's a lot of different excuses that could hold you back. But if you burn those ships, you're going to be so much more successful. So, a little bit of participation. If anybody has any kind of like common excuses that you have to like burn the ship with all the time, maybe something you struggle with is something else, somebody else is struggling with as well. Do you have anything, Karina?
I think the most common one for me is the one about oh, I'll go tomorrow, or like I have something um happening, or I and then I'm thinking, you know what, like tomorrow I'll go tomorrow, or I try to go later because I usually go to the gym in the morning.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, I'll try to sweat it out in the garage doing something, or I'll I'll go in the afternoon since there's classes, but it's way harder for me to like that motivation towards the end of the day compared to how
Hmm.
I've been accustomed to going in the morning, or being active, super motivated in the morning.
Exactly. And I'll get into that later on in the presentation, but that's very, very common that it's more difficult to get things done at the end of the day because your willpower, there's a battery of willpower, and by the end of the day, it's very drained. And making a decision like going to the gym at the end of the day when your willpower battery is drained, very, very difficult. I'll get into that in a little bit, but that was a great example. Thanks for sharing. Does anybody else have anything before I move forward? Alrighty, rock and roll. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. This is a very, very popular quote. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I've missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. And this is from the best basketball player of all time, or one of the best. I don't know if you think Kobe is probably the best, but one of the best players of all time missed 9,000 shots. He's lost 300 games. 26 times he's been trusted by his team to take the last shot and he's failed, right? A lot of times people are going to quit or they're going to get discouraged or they're going to stop because they had a setback. Setbacks are normal and they are part of the success. The only difference between someone like Michael Jordan and somebody who doesn't succeed in whatever endeavor they have is he did not quit. He got back up and he was uh, back the next day doing the same thing. He got up, dusted himself off, and moved on. So even the best that there ever was failed over and over and over again, but still found a way in the end to be successful, not because of natural talent necessarily, even though he was, but it was more his grit and determination to succeed and to try again than anything else. So there's a mindset. There's another book called Mindset that I really like. And I'm trying to find a way to put somebody, you guys here, without covering everything. But mindset. So the growth mindset is I can do better. Everything that happens is something that you can learn from. Those are people with a growth mindset. Those are those people that are more likely to be successful. Um, in the book Mindset, they were talking about, I think it was third grade math. And the biggest sign of success for the third graders are kids that had a growth mindset. Now, a fixed mindset is something that says, it's very hard, I'm not going to succeed. Valeria told a story about 2 weeks ago. She's an eighth grade math teacher. And as she was doing her volunteer hours at a school, she tells the story about a kid that says, man, this is so hard. And in that moment, she said, if you go into math thinking that it's really, really hard, you've already set yourself up for failure. Um, yes, it could be hard, but you got to put yourself in the growth mindset. She knew this as a teacher. You have to put yourself into you have to cultivate a growth mindset that you can do better. You can learn from the hard times, right? A lot of people come into fitness or come into a new endeavor or come into something with a fixed mindset that things can't get better. Things are the way they are. And if you do that, it makes it very, very difficult to succeed. So, if you have a fixed mindset, or if you have a mindset that you come in there and you think things are hard, or in Patty's case, oh, this core exercise is so hard. I can tell she doesn't have a fixed mindset because she does it anyway, and she complains to me afterwards. But she does a good job. She has a growth mindset. Yes, it's hard, but she could still push herself through it. So I appreciate people that go into the gym with more of a growth mindset. And if we don't have that growth mindset, it is something that you can cultivate. Deliberate practice. A lot of people come in and like I mentioned before, they may be doing action, but it's not with any kind of thought behind it, or it's not deliberate. It's just going through the motions. It's just rocking in the rocking chair and doing an action and saying, I'm doing it, but I'm not getting anywhere. So the concept of deliberate practice is actually really important. It's setting a goal. So, like I mentioned before, oftentimes when somebody comes into the gym, they say, I want to lose 10 pounds. Um, that's a good goal. It's a stretch goal, right? But you got to make sure that you don't just come in and say, I want to lose weight. Well, what does that mean? What's the goal? What do you want to lose 1 pound? Because you can lose 1 pound, right? Are you happy when the scale goes down 1 pound, or are you happy when you hit an actual goal? So having a stretch goal, usually a SMART goal, those are specific, measurable, they're attainable, they're within a timetable, and they're realistic. So having a SMART goal is something that's a stretch goal. Concentration and effort. It takes a lot of concentration and effort over a long period of time. Receiving feedback. Now, this is where you have a coach that you ask for feedback, you received feedback from them, and you apply the feedback. Repetition, doing it over and over and over again, and loving the process. Now, Patty, remember yesterday how you told me during Foam Roll Friday that remember when I wanted to be a rock star? And I said, I want to be a rock star. And remember that? I told you it was going to be part of this presentation. Uh,
Yeah.
this is the, this is the example I want to talk about. It's about the deliberate practice. My stretch goal, I want to be a rock star. When I was in high school, I played guitar and I wanted to be a rock star. Concentration and effort. Practicing. I would practice, I would practice, I would practice. I actually had a teacher. I had hired somebody to teach me how to play guitar. And I would see him twice a week for an hour, and he would coach me. He would tell me, okay, learn these scales. Okay, do this with your finger. Here's some stretching exercises so that you can get to the different strings. Repetition. I would practice over and over and over and over, but I wasn't successful. I'm not a rock star today. Why? I didn't learn to love the process. I hated practicing. I would do it, I would do it, I would do it, and all I wanted to do was play songs. I didn't want to play scales. I didn't want to stretch my fingers. I didn't want to do all these things. I didn't love the process. So I never became a rock star. I think a lot of people, they get into fitness, they may have a goal. They may for a time have concentration and effort. They have a coach. They come for a few months, but they do not love the process. And it's not something that just kind of comes to you. You have to learn to love the process. And without this key step, you can have all these four things and you may not be successful. And that was the case in my life. Um, or else I'd be on stage selling sold out SoFi like Taylor Swift, right? So Um, that's my story about deliberate practice. Another story. This one kind of hits home because I'm going to be having a kid in 6 months, well, a little bit less than 6 months now. But think about a baby and their view of deliberate practice. They need to learn how to walk. Now, they get there, they do all of the things. I'm going to go back. Their stretch goal is they want to walk. It takes a lot of concentration and effort on their part. They receive feedback. Maybe their mom or their dad holds their hand and, hey, try to stay up. They repeat it over and over and over again. And at some point, I believe they start to learn to love the process, right? That baby does deliberate practice so that it can learn how to walk. It is not unlike how we learn how to do anything else in life. So, thinking about that little baby and the grit, the intensity, the getting knocked down and getting up again over and over and over and over, that's what that baby has to do to learn how to walk. And that's what we need to think about and revert back to when it comes to any other endeavor in our life, which could be, I want to become healthier via fitness. I want to start a business. I want to get better in my relationships. It all is going to come back down to your grit and how you do these things as far as deliberate practice goes. So I'm going to pause here for a second. If we don't have any other questions or concerns, I'll go ahead and go forward. But maybe there's some experience in your life that you had where you incorporated deliberate practice that you want to share and you became really, really successful in that thing. Maybe it was business, maybe it was Lisa, you're a lawyer. I'm sure you had a lot of deliberate practice so that you could be successful in your career, right?
Yes, absolutely, 100. It was a
Right?
very tough road. I came from School of Hard Knocks. I got into USC, and my parents were like, "Well, how are you going to pay for it?" So I was like, "Okay, so never mind." So I had to take
Mm,
a back door to get where I'm at today.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of things in life, we're able to do really great things. Becoming a lawyer is a really high accomplishment. We're able to do it. We've done these things in the past. I think it's just for some reason when it comes to something like fitness, uh, we forget how we have accomplished those other great things in our life. And I think if we kind of sit back and ponder on the tough things and the great accomplishments that we've made in the past and how we actually did those things, we'll be more successful. For some reason, fitness marketing has always been lose weight in 28 days, and like something about fitness is there's an easy pill to it, and that's the way it's marketed. And not a lot of things are marketed like that now, but nothing else in life is like that. You didn't get to your career with an easy pill in 28 days. You didn't build relationships with an easy pill in 28 days. Well, why do we all think that fitness fits within some other kind of realm, right? So we get a lot of challengers and, oh, I didn't lose 20 pounds in 28 days. I was like, well, that's not how anything in life works, let alone fitness. So changing your view of deliberate practice, I think that this is a big one. Um, Now this quote is a little bit deep, a little bit hard to wrap your head around, but I'm going to summarize it for you. It comes up in another slide. I'll read it to you. Our vanity, our self-love promotes the cult of genius. For if we think of genius as something magical, we're not obliged to compare ourselves and find ourselves lacking. To call someone divine means here there is no need to compete. Say I was an aspiring basketball player, but I think of somebody like Kobe Bryant as divine. And because I think of him as somebody who he was born with so much more talent than I did, came from better circumstances. I use that to protect my ego and not work as hard as I should to become as good as Kobe Bryant was. A lot of times it's our ego that we make excuses. Oh, that guy's just, he had better circumstances. Oh, he was just naturally talented. Oh, his genetics were better than mine. We push off and say, oh, that they had all of this divine ability, which makes it, I don't need to compare myself to that person. I don't need to strive to be as good as that person because they had something I don't. We use all of that just to protect our ego. It is solely to protect our ego. When the reality is, somebody like Kobe Bryant maybe didn't have all, he had some talent, right? You have to be genetically 6'6" or something to play basketball, right? But the guy worked his butt off harder than anybody in the NBA. And there's stories to tell that. But teammates didn't like him because he made them work as hard as he did. So a lot of grit, a lot of hard work goes into being that divine person. And we use our ego to protect ourselves from thinking we need to put in that amount of work. So this goes into boundaries are irrelevant, right? Effort will always outbeat talent. Most people never even get close to reaching their highest potential. I'm not sure if you guys know who David Goggins is, but he says that the human body shuts off at about 50 to 60% of our potential. And maybe that we're lifting a weight and we say, oh, that's it, I can't do anymore. But that's usually our brain letting us know we've reached that 50 to 60% potential. I use the example of a mom pulling a kid out of a burning car or something. They have superhuman strength to lift that car up, right? In a regular circumstance, they wouldn't do that, but they're able to turn off any inhibitions, any kind of things in their mind telling them they can't, and they just go and do, and they're able to do extraordinary things. And the only thing that they did was turn off any kind of inhibitions in their mind. So most people, because of our inhibitions and the negative self-talk in our mind, we never reach our highest potential. Blindly attributing someone else's success to natural talent protects our ego and our limiting beliefs of that we have for ourselves. This is basically summing up the quote that I had in the previous slide. And then it takes countless hours of hard work and dedication to achieve goals that people have achieved, the whole Kobe Bryant thing. So consistency is everything. Here's a lot of other quotes that I really like to come back to. 80% of life is just showing up. I always say that the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door, because a lot of times just coming through that front door is the hardest part of the actual workout. That comes from Woody Allen. Talent you have naturally, skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. And that comes from Will Smith. Without effort, your talent is just unmet potential. These last three quotes are actually from Angela Duckworth's book called Grit. Without effort, your skill is nothing but what you could have done but did not. It's just unmet potential. With effort, talent becomes skill, and effort makes skill productive. One of my very favorite quotes from the book, enthusiasm is common, but endurance is rare. This is something I also like to share with people that are just coming onto a challenge here at Lead the Way. It's they are all gung ho. I ask, how many times are we going to work out a week? Oh, I'm going to be here every day. They're so enthusiastic. Are we going to be able to follow the meal plan, or eat enough protein, get enough sleep? Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And they go 1 week in, maybe 2 weeks in, and they completely burn out. The enthusiasm is very, very common. I would say that most people that are serious about starting their fitness journey, the enthusiasm is through the roof. But what is rare is the actual endurance that it takes to be successful. It's the grit, it's the grind, it's doing these things day in and day out and finding a cadence that fits for your lifestyle that you can be successful. I don't recommend somebody works out every day. I work out 3 to 4 times a week, and that's it, right? Because that's the cadence that I can maintain and still be successful. If I try to do 5, 6, 7 days a week, I would definitely burn out and I would not be successful in my fitness journey. So, taking those things into account, this is one of my very, very favorite quotes. Enthusiasm is common, but endurance is rare. We want to strive for the endurance. That goes into the Stonecutters Creed. I love this little story as well. So the Stonecutters Creed goes something along the lines of there was a stonecutter that was beating on this boulder and he was slamming it with his hammer, trying to crack it, trying to crack it, trying to crack it. And he hit that thing 99 times and he felt like giving up. He was so exhausted. He would beat on the rock, beat on the rock. He was in the hot sun and he thought to himself, is this thing ever gonna crack? And he gives it one more big smack and he goes and he hits that stone as hard as he can and he finally sees it crack. Now, was it the 99 times beforehand that he hit that stone that led to the crack? Or was it that 100th time? Right? Even though you don't see a result, you're slamming that rock, you're slamming that rock, you're slamming that rock. You're going to your workouts, you're trying to eat healthy, you're eating your protein, you're getting your sleep, you're drinking your water, and you just don't see the results. And then all of a sudden, maybe one week you go in and wow, my clothes fit phenomenal. The scale is moving, it's going in the right direction. Things are just all of a sudden going well. Many times we've hit that thing 99 times, or maybe we've hit it only 50 times and we don't see anything going on and we quit. When in reality, you're doing everything right. You're doing all the things the coach is asking you to do. You're doing great. You're really working hard. You're doing what you need to do, but you've only done it 50 times and you don't see that crack. And a lot of times we just say, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to just revert back to my old ways. And people don't accomplish what they're looking for. Same thing happens in business. Oftentimes, a lot of times that happens with students that go to college. They get like 2 or 3 years into their college career and they drop out. And if they just continued doing what they were doing, they would have cracked the stone. They would have accomplished the goal. But they just give up somewhere along the process before they see the result. So the Stonecutters Creed is actually a really, really good story or analogy for fitness or for anything else in life. I know for myself, this can apply to the whole guitar story. I did go to school at 19. I wanted to be a music major because I wanted to be a rock star. And I did 2 years at Citrus College, and I just did a lot of electives and music classes, and I stopped. And if I would have never went back to school at 26, then I would have never gotten my degree. But like I did 2 years, I was halfway through college, and I just stopped because I didn't think music was what I wanted to do anymore. But the whole mentality of the Stonecutters Creed, I went back to school. I did another 3 years, and I graduated with my degree. So. It's a mentality that you have to have. Does anybody have any stories of something that maybe they were on the right path and they just gave up halfway through or maybe 99% of the way through and never followed through, or something that you wanted to give up 99% of the way but you decided to continue and you were successful? Any stories like that? I know sometimes it's kind of hard to think off the top of your head. We'll go ahead and move on, but think about that. That's another thing to kind of meditate on and kind of think about. What is something that I wanted to give up on and I almost did give up on, but I kind of, I continued on. I was gritty and I succeeded in the end. Another quote from her book is grit grows as we figure out our life philosophy, learn to dust ourselves off after rejection and disappointment, and learn to tell the difference between low-level goals that should be abandoned quickly and higher level goals that demand more tenacity. That kind of goes back into the Stonecutters Creed. A great life philosophy for successful people is doing things better than they've ever been done before, trying to be the best at your craft, whatever it may be. The people that are most successful, even if they don't become Kobe Bryant in the basketball situation, maybe they're a pretty good NBA star. They're not a Kobe Bryant. They may not be a Hall of Famer, but they're still, because they strive to be the best that ever was, they became pretty darn good. It's kind of the quote that if you shoot for the moon, you may hit the stars. Same idea. Focus on taking even the tiniest step forward consistently, day after day. 1% better every day. I'm sure you've heard all of our coaches say that because I've ingrained that in all of their heads. You want to get 1% better every single day. And then having your priorities in order. I know that it's not going to sound good because I'm a fitness coach, but I'm going to tell you right now, 70 to 80% of the results that you're going to see in the gym do not come from your actual workout. It's going to come from your sleep, your water intake, your nutrition, and your stress. Only about 20 to 30% of the results you're going to see comes from the actual working out. So if your main priority are the workouts, you don't have your priorities in order as far as getting the best results. I would put nutrition and sleep as the top two, your water intake as 3, and stress as 4. Fitness would be the last thing on your priority list. You can lose a lot of weight if you just did those other 4 things. And I know I'm a fitness coach, and I know I should be trying to sell fitness, the actual sessions, because that's what I do. But if that is your main priority, your priorities are out of order. We need to rethink our priorities and find ways to spend more time on the things that are going to get us the best results, which would be nutrition and sleep. Taking the time to put quality food in our body and staying off the Netflix and video games. I'm talking to myself, so that I can get my 8 hours of sleep every night. Those are your main priorities when it comes to fitness. This one is kind of opposite to what a lot of people think. Has anybody heard of the vision board? Where like you sit there and you imagine success, right? Yeah. Oftentimes those things can be toxic, and I'm going to explain why. Indulging in visions of your positive future without actually figuring out and planning step by step how you're going to get there is actually toxic. Because you can fantasize and think, oh, I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to, become a CEO of a company. I'm going to, lose all this weight. Goals are good, but not having a game plan and following a game plan to get to that goal and just fantasizing about it is not good. Not focusing on the mid-level or lower level goals to get you to that big goal is not going to set you up for success. If you don't do this part and you only indulge in the visions of the positive future, you're not going to be successful. It takes a little work, and the coaches are here for you to help you do this, but setting those mid to lower level goals, getting 8 hours of sleep, losing 10 pounds in 8 weeks, right? That's a mid-level goal. Lower level goals, making sure you hit your protein every day, getting 8 hours of sleep, making sure you drink half your body weight in ounces of water. Those are the lower level goals that you do daily. Mid-level goals, lose 10 pounds in 8 weeks, right? And then getting to that vision of, I'm going to look great in that wedding dress, whatever it is, right? We indulge about, look, I'm going to look good in that wedding dress, but we don't focus on these things right here. Well, in the short term, you feel great about the lofty aspirations that you have yourself. But in the long term, because you didn't do this part right here, you feel disappointed because you never reached your goal. You didn't look the way you wanted to look like in that wedding dress. Because all you did was fantasize and indulge in, my vision board, but you didn't put this part into action. And the end result is you feel disappointed you didn't reach your goal. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having goals and visualizing success, but you need to make sure that you do this part right here, because without this part, you're not going to be successful, and it actually becomes a toxic habit that people have. So that's just something to take into consideration. Getting into one of the last slides here is grit. We all face limits, not just in talent, but in opportunity. But more often than we think, our limits are self-imposed. We try, fail, and conclude we've bumped our heads against the ceiling of possibility. Or maybe after taking just a few steps, we change in direction. In either case, we never venture as far as we might have. To be gritty is to keep putting one foot in front of the other. To be gritty is to hold fast to an interesting and purposeful goal. To be gritty is to invest day after week after year in challenging, I would add, deliberate practice. To be gritty is to fall down 7 times and rise up 8. This was at the end of her book, and it kind of just wrapped everything up very, very nicely. I really did appreciate this part of the book, and it just like really hammered everything home. Now, we all face limits, not just in talent, but in opportunity. I've shared this with a lot of you before. Life isn't fair, and it never will be. I think I did that a couple months ago. If we sit here and just think about the opportunities we had when we grew up, and I did this for 26 years. You guys know, a lot of you know, I grew up in a family where they did a lot of drugs. I was in foster care, in and out of foster care, back and forth between my mom and dad, different drug houses. It was terrible. And I used all of my growing up as an excuse or something that I leaned on, and as to why I was not successful in any of the things I wanted to do, whether it was going to college or, not going to high school because I dropped out a lot. I just didn't go to classes. I used all of those things with my home life as the excuse, as my opportunity wasn't good. And it wasn't until I was 26 that I said, life isn't fair. It's not fair for anybody. Why am I sitting here sulking over it myself? It's time to buckle up my bootstraps and do something about it. And that's when I got more of this gritty mindset and attitude that it's not fair. And I came to terms with it. And the only thing I can do is put one foot in front of the other and get better 1% at a time. So that was it. More often than I thought, these limits were self-imposed. It was me. I was in my head. There's stories of other people that have come from rough upbringings that have been very, very successful. Why could that not have been me? The only reason was I put those self-limiting beliefs on myself, right? So this whole quote really hit me personally, and I thought I would share it with you guys because I think that if we have this kind of a mindset, I don't think there's any limit in what we can do. We can just get better and better at each thing despite the circumstances that we're in. So I have one more slide at the end. The Two Wolves. This is another great story that I love to share. So there's a Native American grandfather, and he's sitting around the campfire telling his 2 grandsons about the story about the 2 wolves. And he says, there's a dream that I've been having night after night, and there's these 2 wolves. And he says, one represents everything that is negative self-talk, doubt, jealousy, all the thoughts that are negative. And then the other wolf represents all of the things that are good, strong self-esteem, confidence, joy, happiness, love. And he says they're battling, they're fighting each other. And then the grandfather just pauses. And and the grandsons look at him and says, well, we want to know who wins the battle. And he says, it's the wolf that you feed the most. We both have this constant battle of negative self-talk and positive self-talk. We have this battle in our minds. And the one that you feed the most is the one that's going to overcome the other. So we all naturally have negative self-talk, right? The person that's going to be more successful in the slide that I told you about before was the person with the growth mindset, right? The person who thinks I can do this. Yes, it's hard, but there's a way that it can be done. I can succeed with this. I just need to figure out the way, rather than the person with a fixed mindset that thinks all the negative self-talk and kind of beats themselves up and I'll never get this done. I've been pounding this rock 99 times and it's never came through. I'm just going to use the excuse of going back to the boats instead of burning the ships. There's these things that we're constantly battling, and everybody has those battles. The difference between the person who's successful and the person that isn't successful is which thoughts are you going to feed the most? Which thoughts are you going to push out? And which thoughts are you going to cling to with tenacity and grit so that you can continue to get better at your craft or be more successful in whatever endeavor you have. So that is the end of my presentation. Oh, Daniel, excellent. Yeah, I have that. You can still be successful despite any kind of upbringing you have. So I'm gonna open it up for a couple minutes. If you guys have any questions, any kind of concerns, anything that you guys want to bring up, any shared stories that you want to share. Do you want to share anything, Danielle? You had a similar upbringing, you said? Oh. If you're sharing, then you're still muted.
Oh, I didn't know how to turn my thing on.
No worries. I hear you now.
Well, you hit on a couple of ones that are, things that you wished you'd have completed or, you were going on that. And I went to this one, my first thought went to in 1984, I was in the pre-Olympic trials for cycling. And unfortunately, I'm also was an alcoholic and I had drank the night before. And I screwed up. It couldn't get my foot back in the toe clip because they didn't cinch it up. This is back when they didn't have the press on. They had the leather straps you had to, for your toe clips on your shoes. And I just stopped. In other words, I think I placed 17th, but it was like I just gave up. And I literally gave up and I stopped cycling. That giving up, that and it haunted me for years. Because I strived and I trained so hard to get to that place, and then and gave up, and then so this is something that hit me, that I went like, if I I just should have just kept going. Something that you loved, a sports, that something that you excelled at, so yeah, I just appreciated that share kind of came to me. Thank you.
Yeah. Oftentimes we have these lofty goals, and a lot of it is self-sabotage. For myself, it was the same thing.
That was
I was
yeah, definitely the self-sabotage right there.
yeah. It's not that we're Go ahead.
So anyway, there was so many points here that I just went like, I really need to hear this. This is wonderful presentation.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. And it's if I just said that grit was the secret to success, I don't think anybody would have really cared. But it really is. It's a mindset. It's your thoughts. I always go back to this very first quote right here. We're all worried about our actions, but it all starts with our thoughts. We're worried about our habits. Do I have the right habits? Well, it all starts, do you have the right thoughts? Your thoughts control all of the things that happen afterwards, your actions, your habits, your character, and ultimately your destiny. So my whole goal for the presentation was to have you guys have something to think about as far as what am I doing to train my mind to be successful? And that gritty mindset it has to be the number one thing that has helped me be as successful as I have been thus far in my life. I'm not where I want to be, definitely. But I mean, before 26, I was I was a complete disaster. I was everything I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be my parents. And growing up, I don't want to be my parent. I don't want to do anything. And at 17, 18, I was so angry and angsty that I turned into my parents. It was the complete opposite of what I wanted to do as a kid my whole life. And you know, you become what you think about the most. And my anger and frustration toward, the lifestyle I had growing up is what I ended up turning into. And it took me until 26 to realize I needed to switch that mindset and become more gritty. And it's helped me for the last, goodness, 26, I'm 34 now. 7 years, 8 years. So, oh, if you guys could have met Coach Christian before 8 years ago, you would have seen a whole nother person. So, thank you guys for coming. I'm sorry, is anybody has anything else they'd like to share before, or any other questions before I wrap this up? Rock and roll. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in and listening in, and I'll be sure to share the recording if you guys want to listen to it again in the future. But thank you for coming, and I appreciate all of you guys stopping by. Oh,
Thanks,
good chat.
Christian.
Of course, of
Thank
course.
you, Christian. Very good.
Thank you,
Hi,
Christian.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye, Patty.
Have a good day.
You too. Take care.